This is Kyle Kopp's final PowerPoint presentation for the final project of EMC 6315. First question is looking at the positions of the Springfield Emergency Department. We have the physician, the nurse, the technician, and the secretary. As you can see, the nurses and the physicians make up most of the jobs there. Physicians make up a total of 35.6% of them, while the nurses make up 40.4%. The technicians make up 16%, and the secretaries make up only 8%. The next question here is referring to the gender of the Springfield ED. As you can see, females it mainly consists of females, a huge population, 66.5% to be exact, while the males ring in at 33.5%. Now we're looking about the age, the average age of everyone that works in a hospital. The youngest person here is 22, while the oldest is 72. And the average age altogether is almost 40, just slightly under. Next, the employees were asked how many years they've worked at the Springfield Hospital. About the majority of the staff has been there for almost 7 years. That's the average. The longest tenure in the employee is 40 years, while some staff are recently new, probably still being trained, and they've only been there for about a year. Now we're looking at the communication training program that they offer there. This question simply asks if they participated in the training program. And it's a bit surprising, only 31.3% of the staff participated in it, and 68.7% did not. It's kind of interesting. It's obviously offered by there, it's free, all you have to do is show up, yet it's kind of boggling why no one wanted to show up at all. I think that seems like something everyone would be interested, want to learn more about. Instead, it kind of appears that they just blew it off or took it for granted. So we'll touch back more on this communication training program later in the presentation. This question is referring to efficient communication regarding patient care. So they're kind of divvying this up by strongly disagreeing, just disagreeing, neutral, agreeing, and strongly agreeing. The efficient communication regarding the patient care received low results overall. Only 17.8% strongly disagreed, while 25.5% disagreed, 35.6% are neutral, 17.8% agreed. And the smallest percentage of all of them is strongly agree, which is 3.3%. Next question is more of a statement. Do people support one another in this unit? How do the employees feel about this? Well, we're going to see this neutral trend kind of beginning here. But only 6.2% of the staff strongly agree with this statement, while 25.8% agree, 33.1% neutral, 18.2% disagree, and 16.7% strongly disagree. Overall, a lot of people do agree with it, but there's a fair amount of people that disagree and even strongly disagree. But there's a lot of people that are just neutral and just seem to have kind of just not much of an opinion at all, even though it should be fairly obvious if they work there all the time. They should know the atmosphere and the morale there and how things operate. So it's interesting that so many people chose to just be in the middle. Now we're looking at if employees in the hospital treat each other with respect. So the results of this question show that 16.7% of the staff strongly disagree that people treat each other with respect. 19.3% disagree, 29.8% are neutral, 25.5% agree, and only 8.7% strongly agree. Here we are again. This is kind of similar to the last one. There's quite a few people that agree, and also just slightly underneath it, there's quite a few people that strongly disagree and just disagree. It's pretty high up there, but then again, the neutral leads the pack. It's still surprising that so many people don't really have an opinion on this. We'll see that continue as we go on. So how would you rate the quality of communication between staff members and patients in the Springfield Emergency Department? Now, the ratings here are a little different. We have very poor, somewhat poor, neutral, somewhat good, and very good. 9.5% of employees rated the quality of communication between the staff members and patients to be very poor. 20.4% said it was somewhat poor. 46.2% were neutral on the question. 21.8% believed it was somewhat good, and very good got the least amount of votes at 2.2%. Again, neutral has a lot more votes than the second and third closest, which usually is one good, one positive, and one negative view. So how do the employees rate their job satisfaction? We're breaking this down by strongly dissatisfied, dissatisfied, neutral, satisfied, and strongly satisfied. Overall, the staff seem to be rather satisfied with their job. 36% were strongly satisfied, 33.5% were just simply satisfied, 15.6% were neutral, 8% were dissatisfied, and 6.9% were strongly dissatisfied. It's kind of interesting to compare this to the previous graphs where there were a lot of votes for poor respect among employees and poor respect and also support with one another in the units. It's surprising here to see that majority of everyone is either satisfied or strongly satisfied after those previous questions. So how important is it that staff members exhibiting a friendly demeanor and providing quality health care? Well, breaking this down by not important at all, somewhat unimportant, neither or, and important and very important. So as you can see here, more than half, 55.3% to be exact, of the staff believe that friendly demeanor is very important. 25.5% believe it just to be important, and the lowest vote getters were not important at all and somewhat unimportant, with 4.4% each. Neutral came in at 10.5%. As you can see here, this is regarded as being extremely important, very important one by a wide range here. How often do employees use email to receive work-related information? It's grouped by never, rarely, sometimes, often, and daily. Well, almost half the employees, 43.6% of them, use email on a daily basis. 22.2% use it often, 18.2% only sometimes, 6.2 rarely, and 9.8 never use it. We can see emails and all kinds of electronic technology are very prevalent in today's world, so it kind of fits the bill there. Now, how often do the employees use face-to-face discussion to receive work-related information? Daily receive the most tallies here again. They occupy 41.1% of the vote. 31.3% was often. 13.5% for sometimes. 5.8 rarely do, and 8.4 never use it. It's kind of hard to imagine someone never using face-to-face. I don't know how you could really get any work done. I feel like you have to communicate on some face-to-face basis a little bit, and that's kind of represented by the daily 113. That's quite a lot. And we've come to our first web survey question. And what we're looking at here is comparing the average people that participated in training, in the communication training, and how that affected each of these other questions here. So let me break this down for you. Keep in mind that these averages are 1 is strongly disagree, all the way to 5, which is strongly agree. So for the efficiency question, all the positions, regardless they attend training or not, lie between disagree and neutral. Kind of more on the neutral side again. For whether people support one or another, it's more divided. The range is a little bigger, falling slightly more between the disagree and agree range. But the physicians and nurses who didn't attend training were favoring towards neutral. But it was the opposite for the technicians and the secretaries. As you can kind of see, those who did lean more towards neutral. If we're referring just to the respect questions, physicians who did and did not attend were the only position to fall between neutral and agree. So now how would the employees rate their job satisfaction divided up by their age? So we broke down the age groups into 5 categories here: 20 to 29, 30 to 39, and so on. It's kind of interesting to see that the oldest age group, the 60 plus years of age, is the least satisfied out of everyone. And group 4 is the most satisfied. They're right next to each other age-wise, and it's kind of weird how they can flip-flop so quickly. This graph lets us see the positions, the job positions broken down by male or female in these questions about email and face-to-face. Overall, both genders in all possessions check their email and use face-to-face interaction quite frequently. The overall mean for face-to-face is just slightly higher at 3.91 than it is for the email, which is at 3.84. Here we're looking at how age affects email usage and face-to-face communication to receiving work-related information. So we're using the same age groups here as we used earlier. Keep in mind that 1 is never and 5 is daily. So surprisingly, face-to-face was more common than email in the younger 2 age groups. There's not a whole whole lot of separation between them, but the younger individuals are typically more accustomed to technology than older folks. That's kind of interesting. Also, the only time email is preferred over face-to-face is in the 40 to 49-year-old age group. Here we're comparing their job satisfaction with the support in the unit and the respect in the unit. So this graph is letting us see the correlation between these on job satisfaction, and the results show that believe it or not, they're completely equal. These factors do have a positive influence on the staff's job satisfaction. Here we're looking at the participation and communication training again, and its effect regarding communication with patient care and with the staff and members and the patients as well, the quality of it. So this would lead one to believe that the employees attend communication training, this would have a positive influence all around, right? But no, it turned out to be the opposite in fact. Instead, the graph shows that the communication is pretty much all around negative and probably not up to the standards that the Springfield emergency department would like. We are now looking at the frequency of tweets per day. As you can see, the employees were obviously tweeting the most on Friday and Monday. I'm thinking Monday is the beginning of the week, so employees might be focused on what's going to happen their week, their whole schedule, what they're looking forward to. And on Friday, the employees are, maybe looking to voice some frustrations and, looking forward to have the time off on the weekend. In the middle of the week, probably just don't tweet as less just because they're busy and distracted by work. Now, this is the average tweet reach per day. So, for starters, the average tweet reach overall reaches about 8,454 people. Now, it makes sense that the tweet reach is highest on Monday and Friday because those are 2 days, as we just previously discussed, that our tweets are sent out most frequently. And again, middle of the week is lower in accordance with the tweet frequency as we just talked about, except for Thursday, which is the lone exception here. Now here we are looking at the top 15 states with the most tweets. We're kind of seeing here that the top 2 states, it's easy to see why, just because they do have a higher population than most states, and that should result naturally in more tweets. And many other states just have smaller populations, so it's less people that tweet out their numbers. But you can see there's a lot of these fall kind of on the East Coast, a few in Central America, and California's kind of the lone one on the West Coast out there. This pie chart here shows us the sentiment associated with the tweets. The posts are heavily associated with a positive frequency of 452, and the neutral posts occur second most with a frequency of 171, and I'm a little bit surprised by the extreme amount of negative posts. That's only occurring with frequency of 5. This chart is showing us the top 5 influencer scores of these newspapers. All 5 newspapers are highly rated. It's not easy to get a high influencer score at all, so they're doing something right. And the hospital needs to look at their Twitter feeds and whatnot to just learn from them, learn how to do it right, how to better engage their employees and also their patients. I'm sure they can learn a couple things in no time. They also probably should focus on tweeting relevant posts, maybe, tagging the newspaper in the post as well, and hoping to see if, entice them a little bit. Maybe they can get a story out out there that'll help the hospital as well. You can see in the focus group that early on the participants were already heavily voicing their concerns about the communication going on inside the hospital. It's kind of trending negatively pretty quick. They all had their own opinions on how to improve things and just where the hospital is going wrong. Upper management pretty much all stemmed from terrible communication skills is what it sounded like. Just they were feeling left out, didn't feel like their opinions were heard, so I mean that just kind of resulted in low office morale. Didn't really seem to start turning around until the anonymous survey was offered. I think that allowed the staff members to really get off what was on their chest, really say what they wanted to out loud, feel like they could really be heard. Overall, the focus group went well. The moderator did a good job of keeping it in check and digging into the questions for more details. But I mean, as I said earlier, it's easy to see the negative views, and staff members are trying to be heard. They want to be heard. Well, for the final recommendation, overall the research data provided valuable insight to the communication problems going on in the Springfield Emergency Department. There's still obviously a lot of improvement, but the data takes into consideration many of the factors that give you different perspectives and angles to view these things. It did confirm a lot of the struggles that the focus group voiced out in. The data kind of backed that up a little bit. You can see the negative trend in the communication problems. It is kind of alarming to see that all the neutral answers, responses, just wondering why they felt like it just seemed like maybe it wasn't an honest opinion. You'd really like to steer away from that. But also, I think it's important that the upper management, communicates back to employees and lets them know that they've been heard. That's important. That two-way communication is vital to the office thriving and boosting morale, and just everyone being on the same page